I remember everything. The sounds my mother made to me when I was inside her womb. The gentle words she'd whisper. Her cooing, calling. I remember all of it. I remember seeing light for the first time in the emergency room. It was so bright. I was cold, outside of my mother. Exposed to the air for the first time, I cried. I didn't yet have the words to say I was hurting. I remember being hungry. I remember screaming. I remember wailing until my throat was sore. I needed food. My mother gave it to me. My brother loomed over my crib as I slept. When I awoke, I saw my mother's face look at me with concern. I wasn't sure what was wrong. I didn't have the words to ask. I remember my brother, 5 years old. I remember the day I was bigger than him. I had words by then. We played, but my mother looked onwards with disgust. She couldn't bear to lay eyes upon me. She looked gaunt, as if the pregnancy had taken a toll on her. I remember being kept home while my brother went off to school. I was told I was to stay indoors. When I asked why I couldn't go out and play with the other children like my brother did, my mother told me I was too big. I was. My brother was 5 years older than me, and I was much bigger than him. I remember towering over my mother. I remember my body changing. My body had started to grow hair. My face was ridden with acne. I felt strange things. I wanted to do things that I wasn't quite able to explain. My mother cowered in fear when I entered the room, but I wasn't quite sure what I had done wrong. I remember when my skin became smooth again. I remember looking in the mirror, seeing hair grow from even more places. My mother showed me how to shave it. I stood tall over my older brother. His head reached just above my knees. I remember when the hair on my head began to thin. My mother looked at me with disgust no longer, instead looking at me with the same concern she had shown as she stared down upon me that time I laid in my crib. I remember when I saw the first wrinkles, the first lines appearing on my face, the crow's feet. I asked my mother what was happening to me. She told me she didn't know. She cried and I cried too. I asked my mother if I was sick, and she said she didn't know. I remember my brother's 6th birthday. My mother told me I had to stay in our room. I overheard guests asking to see the baby. My mother told them each in turn that the baby was staying at its grandmother's house. I remember when my hands first started to shake. My mother held them in hers, and she told me I would be all right. My face was older now. The wrinkles were deep, cavernous. My teeth were yellowed, even though it wasn't long ago that they'd pushed themselves through. My brother said I looked scary. I remember the first time I started to forget. I forgot my brother's face. I forgot my mother's voice. I forgot my name. And now I fear that I will forget more and more. Each day, a little more of me slips away. Soon I will be nothing but a memory to my mother and my brother. And I hope they remember me.
If you like this original story, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.